Alright guys, welcome back to Half Rod's YouTube channel. So, got to get a little bit caught up on everything that's been going on around here. Last couple of weeks has been pretty busy. However, I have a problem with all the video clips that I have taken, not all of them, but a lot of them. My computer, for whatever reason, it no longer shows me the icons, it's just numbers of the whatever the video is, like GH00462 or something. So I'm having trouble finding those to put them in, and I basically, there's so many video clips in there, when I have to double click on it and start watching it just to see what video it is. So it's going to take forever to do video, but I do have a lot of clips in there. I just got to go through and find them. So I'm actually going to see if my neighbor can come over this weekend. He does computer stuff. I'm going to see if he can figure out why that changed to numbers instead of icons, or whatever you want to call it, because it's just going to be a pain in the butt. So that's really why you haven't seen much from me. I've had a lot of things I've done, a lot of stuff's been going down, and so I'm just going to catch you guys up verbally on all this stuff and show you a little bit of things. So I think the last video I posted, I was talking about some of the projects around here, and I talked about meeting up with a guy because he had some parts for my two-door post project, and that right there is the 58 Ford roof. And I do have video clips of his place and everything, but I've got to, see if my neighbor can fix the computer. But anyway, that is the ribbed 58 Ford roof that I was wanting for my sedan project. So, I mean, a lot of you guys that have heard me talk about that, you think I'm trying to put the whole roof on the car, and that's not what I'm doing. I'm taking and putting this skin on the Chevy, and you can already see where I started cutting it right here. I need to go get another cutoff wheel, but I'm basically cutting around the perimeter of it, and then that skin is going to go in place of the domed skin on the Chevy. So just be a unique look. So if you're seeing that, that's the rear bumper on Steve's car with the accessory guards on the back. Nothing's super tight yet because we ran into an issue. These carriage bolts we have, they came with the bumper kit. We didn't get the bolts with these accessory guards, so the bolts need to be a little bit longer. I did get this one started, but the other side we can't quite get the nut to catch, and also I need to kind of tweak around on some of this stuff, so I bought a longer bolt for that, and I've got it right here. This bolt, this one bolt, was like $20-something, but it's all stainless, and I'm still going to have to sand and polish this top of it just to put on that end over there. So I got the nut started over here, but basically when you get the carriage bolts with a bumper kit, it's not long enough really to put this on. But this one I actually got it to start. You got to put a washer, lock washer, and then a nut on, so I got it to catch a couple threads, and then when it's tightened down, it should be there. It should bring threads at least out to the end of the nut, I hope, in theory anyway. Me and Steve got the hood on the car. We got the front bumper on, but we ran into problems. So the car before didn't have the bumpers on it, but the previous shop installed the little brackets that bolt on under here that come down. And this one, I noticed it was painted black, but I noticed it had a hole drilled in the top of it where the bolts should normally go. They had somebody had drilled a hole in it. So when I tried putting the carriage bolt in it, the bumper had to be turned way down to get it to fit. So I think it's for a 56 maybe. I'm not really 100%. But anyway, I ended up digging around in my parts and I found one for a 55. Now the one on the other side is correct for 55. So this side I still need to finish up, but I've got to paint a bracket. But he's got the accessory grill guard. I've actually installed all this stuff, but anyway, he bought the accessory guard to put on, and it was actually on the car before he had put on it. But anyway, he didn't have the correct hardware and bracket stuff on it, and I had him buy that, and I installed it. But anyway, so the bumper's on and it's rock and rolling. We got the hood on. The hood doesn't fit absolute perfect, but it's pretty good. I think there's still a little bit more adjustment I'm going to do, but it's on, it opens, and it looks pretty decent. Let's see, I got the, it's hard to see in here. So I got all of this whole rear area right down here, the floor and everything, covered in the Summit brand sound deadener. It's kind of like Dynamat. I don't know who makes it for Summit, but it's Summit branded. And then I had a little bit of the insulation stuff left over, the jute, and I spray glued it on top of that, so it's got a double duty here of sound deadener, which is going to be really nice. You know, generally mufflers, when the muffler shop puts mufflers on a 55, they generally go back in here, you know, this area underneath the car. So having all this double insulated with the sound deadener and the jute padding is just going to be really nice for being quiet. I did get started on the wiring over here. I made my own clock harness over there for that side, because he did buy a new clock for the speaker bezel over there. And then I've got the RCA cables ran through, and I've got some speaker wires ran. I also made my own harness for the bulb sockets for the clock, for the illumination, and also the socket for the heater control unit. And I've got those wired in together and everything, so should be a pretty good time. I'm doing a separate harness to the battery, and I'm doing all the stereo stuff, and all that wiring harness will run down that side and underneath that over there and back to the back. So I put yellow wire on it for the clock harness. Now the clock needs to have battery to it, obviously, and I've got a battery cutoff switch in the trunk, but I'm going to run that wire directly to the positive post on the battery with an inline fuse right at that post. And that way, when he does turn the battery cutoff switch off for, like, you know, protection, theft protection, whatever you want to call it, the clock will still have its power and he won't have to reset it. And I did the same thing with the radio memory wire. It'll go to the battery post. But anyway, the harness that runs down the side of the car on the driver's side for the taillight harness and the dome lights and stuff, it also has the electronic gas door harness, which is 4 wires, I think, or 5, I don't remember, that run up front to go to the switch. And so it made that harness running down this side really big. And that's why I'm putting all the stereo and the clock harness and stuff on that side of the car. But anyway, got a pretty good amount of progress done on his car, since you guys have seen probably the last video on that. But the biggest thing that I think has been done around here is I actually finally got to spend almost a week on my backyard, and oh my gosh, am I so happy about that. My wife's even happier. So I've been afraid I'm gonna have a survey done by the house insurance company, because quite a few people in the housing edition got it done, which I don't know how I haven't survived it yet, but I'm just about ready. If it does happen, I'd be ready for them. But I think it's going to rain this weekend, but I've still got a couple more days of work to do to finish it. But I got a lot of progress in that backyard done. I got the junk cleaned up, I got the trash pile gone, and I mean, it's going pretty good around here on that side of it. But other than that, there's not really a lot more progress to talk about. I haven't done anything to my 55. I was wanting to work on this weekend and do my upgrades on this, or my changes that I talked about in my last video. But I think it's going to rain all weekend, so I'm not going to get to do that. And the collector on the header over here is leaking so bad, man. I want to change the mufflers, change the collector gaskets, and change the shocks out on this. I forgot I'm going to have to unbolt my subwoofer box out of the trunk just to get to the shock bolt, or shock nuts on one side. And actually maybe the battery box on the other side too. So it's going to be a big ordeal to change the rear shocks on this. But I ended up making a list, and it's actually a 1.5-page list right there of things that I want to fix or change on this car. It's got lots of little issues, we'll say, little things. And then I'm gonna really start driving the heck out of the car. But I wanted to talk about something else. So I don't know if you guys know, I actually heard this, that next year is the 100th anniversary of Route 66. And I thought it'd be kind of neat to put together a cruise. It's not going to be nothing, you know, official or anything like that. I'm basically just going to say, okay, me and my wife's going to take my 55 from like the Blue Whale in Catoosa and drive Route 66 and go up to maybe Carthage, Missouri or something like that. And I might do it on a weekend. And if anybody else wants to take their classic car or truck and wants to follow us and go up there on a cruise together, then come on with it. But anyway, I'm not sure of a date yet. Obviously there's things I want to do to my car to get it fixed, but anyway, that'll be next year. And I don't want to do it in super hot weather. So, you know, my car's black and I don't have air conditioning, so I don't want to go up there when it's like 100 degrees outside. But anyway, there'll be more details come up of that in the future. But anyway, if you guys are wanting to go for a cruise, not ride with me, I mean like drive your own car and follow us or whatever, that's something I plan on doing. It's just going to be a little weekend thing. It'll be kind of fun. I want to go to some antique stores, you know, stuff that's on the route there, just to look around, goof off, and hit some mom and pops restaurants, maybe do breakfast somewhere. I don't want to do any mainstream restaurants. I want to do a mom and pop stuff for lunch and dinner. Now, another thing I'd like to do, I need to do some research on it. There is a drive-in in Carthage, Missouri, and I think it's called 66 Drive-In. I need to see if they're still open and what time of the year they are going to be open, and we might do a drive-in movie at Carthage and then spend the night and then come back the next day or something. But anyway, so I'll take you to the back and show you my backyard. All right, so when I come around behind my house here, I have a fenced area that's just off this end of the house, but my property is back here. There's a creek, so all of this back here is open for people to see. I've got this stuff kind of hidden back here, but this chassis has been sitting back here for a long time, as is that one. This is my roll-around body cart that used to be a 56 Chevy frame that was wrecked in the front and bent, and I've got casters on it, and this is what I do my paint work on the bodies. I painted my hardtop body on this before I put it on the chassis, and I'll be doing the same thing with my wife's four-door. But anyway, this is the chassis that actually came out of that two-door post, and I put the four-door chassis underneath that car because it was nicer. This chassis is actually pretty good. It's got kind of a wrinkle up there on the front frame horn. I don't think the frame horn's really bent that bad. It's just, it took a hit and it kind of wrinkled it up a little bit. But other than that, the frame's not rusty or bent up or beat up or anything. It does have a tear in it where somebody's hooked a chain. That's pretty common for those ovals to be ripped out there, and it's the same on this side. But I mean, this chassis is pretty decent, you know what I mean? But the one from the four-door that I put under the two-door is really nice, so that's why I changed it out. This is Steve's original frame from his car, and this thing is bent severely. Like, these are spread out 3/4 of an inch on these rear rails, if I remember right. That back corner's been cut off another car and put on, and they did not put it on straight. It's not square. And this frame horn's been lopped off, and somebody, you know, did a pretty bad job of sticking that on there, and it is not square. It's not even the right measurement across. It's close, but it's not quite. But anyway, this is Steve's old chassis, and I'm sure he don't want it. I've actually gave it to a buddy of mine, and I don't know if he's going to use it for maybe cutting pieces off of it or something. I don't know. I know he has a 55, a couple of them, parts cars. I think one he's going to build, but maybe he needs a frame horn or something. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to give him that chassis, and that way it'll be out of here. This one I've got to keep for now because I may need some suspension pieces off of it here and there, maybe. But I'm going to try to get my fenced in area cleaned up so I can get that in there. and that frame cart. So they'll be in there, out of sight, out of mind. This is what's left of the '88 Super Sport Monte Carlo that was crashed and severely rusty. This car was a parts car. The quarter panels on the Monte Carlo in the front yard and lots of other parts and pieces. I finished stripping this out and I cut that car body up into pieces, and it actually fit into the bed of the scrap guy's truck. So anyway, I used a Sawzall with some metal cutting blades, just chopped it to pieces. But anyway, I saved this whole cowl section because there is a car in my fenced area, G-body, that the cowl is very, very rusty down here in this area. You can stick your foot in there. So that could be technically used for that. And I didn't break the windshield. The windshield survived the trip. So, and that other car needs a windshield. So that's why I saved that. It's heavy and it's kind of awkward. So I want to try to transfer it into this little small part right here. Now, of course, you can't see this. You could before. I think I have some video clips, but I'm gonna have to wait till my neighbor gets me lined out on the computer where I can find them again. But this whole thing was covered in metal right here. There's probably 5 foot tall of just junk metal, scrap iron stuff. And right here is where that Monte Carlo sat. So now grass can actually grow here and I can actually start mowing. I need to rearrange that area there. I got parts there. This is the chassis from this Monte Carlo. And I might end up giving this to that buddy of mine as well, just to get it out of here because I don't need it. But this is a good chassis, other than when that car got wrecked down the driver's side of the car got hit from the front all the way down, and it tweaked this rear end out and busted the rear axle bearing, so the axle moves up and down in this thing. So anyway, you can almost, if you get to looking, you can see that rear end's V'd. So this rear end is wasted. However, if you see that tag right there, that is a Positraction unit tag, and there is a 373 limited slip in there. So I'm going to pull that gear cluster out and put it in the other car, because right now the other car just has a peg leg in it. So it's the same housing, same carrier, 373 gear in this one, 373 in the other car. This is 88, the other's chassis is 87. But anyway, I'm gonna move all this center section and everything out of this into that other. But anyway, I think I'll just give this to my buddy to get rid of it. It does have the fast ratio box on it, which I might end up saving that actually. But anyway, so I want to get this out of here, that out of there, and then transfer this stuff into the fenced area. So it's kind of nice. I mean, there was stuff all over this yard back here. There was a junk pile right there. I've got some stuff here pulled back that this is save stuff, and I want to put it in there as well, but I've got to go in there and rearrange stuff just to get that stuff in there. It's like Monte Carlo parts and a 55 fender. I've got the two-door post body here. This is the one that Randy gave me, and I did some work to. This car, I want to try to get it in the fenced area as well. I've got to get in there and dig some stuff out. I'm going to be cutting up 2 cars in there to have them hauled off as well. But anyway, here's the biggest thing. So I had a whole bunch of bricks here, a bunch of bricks, and I had a circular as big as you can see on that mud right there. That was all bricks around it, and there was also some bricks thrown in it. This was a burn pit for me for a while, and it was just really kind of an eyesore, but it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger with lumber and just crap. So next thing you know, it's like 5 foot tall and about 10 foot wide. So the scrap guy, I paid him to haul that off, and he raked it out and everything, and then he hauled off all the scrap iron. So I'm pretty pleased with the yard. My wife's really happy about it. And then I did cut down, I actually cut down a couple of trees back here with an electric chainsaw, and it's a really small one, so it took a while. But this is a tree that had fell over, and anyway, I've got the majority of it cut down so I can actually ride the mower through here. And I didn't have anywhere to put the stuff, so I laid it right on the edge of the creek here. It's not in the creek, it's up here on this side of it. Now, me and my wife plan on renting a wood chipper, and we're gonna do a lot of the stuff. However, there is a guy that, he doesn't live too far from me, and I've seen he sells firewood. He's got a sign out in front of his house, and he's always got firewood out there. So I'm going to ask him if he wants to come and get some of these bigger logs here. Of course, I'll have to recut them and all that kind of stuff, but I can help him load them if he wants them, but I don't think a wood chipper will chip them big ones. But you know, it'll chip all these limbs and get all this cleaned up. But I still need this to be gone, but I actually need a real chainsaw to do that. So anyway, I need to get this all cut down and removed, and then my backyard will be pretty nice for the most part. I've still got to finish trimming my house on the outside. There's some rotten trim, some rotten siding, and I need to get it painted. There's quite a bit of stuff that I still need to do.